Hello, YouTube, BitTube, and CocoScope. This is Jordan White. What's CocoScope? It's another alternative to YouTube. Bunch of them coming out these days. Now I'm experimenting with a new medium, the podcast. I've seen this thing rise in popularity and would love to do that. Surprisingly, I've experimented with this medium before, way back in 2004. Back then, I thought I was simply trying to keep alive a dead medium, the radio show. It felt like I was the only other radio show besides Adventures in Odyssey, a Christian radio show. What I didn't realize is that I was looking ahead to the future, not backward in the past. I was on the cutting edge, and I didn't know it. It was called podcasts. Even scripted podcasts have become a possibility. One show on Amazon called Homecoming is based on a podcast. The podcast is produced by Gimlet Media, a leader in the scripted podcast space. So I did just what Walt Disney would have done. Keep moving forward. When TV came around, Walt Disney embraced the new medium and used it to finance Disneyland in Anaheim, California. So now we're on topic here. Let's start with the first episode of Nerdy Autist. Today's episode, did the bad guys win in The Last Jedi? There are three reasons that help make this argument, two of which you're gonna laugh at me for. The first reason is more likely to be plausible. In The Last Jedi, the Resistance, or Rebel Alliance, as they now officially became again, lost almost everything. Their entire fleet, their cruiser, their weapons, their base, many of their soldiers. Luke Skywalker is gone, Admiral Akbar is gone, the legendary blue lightsaber is gone, their fuel is gone, their message for help fell on deaf ears, Leia is gone, Carrie Fisher is gone, Debbie Reynolds is gone, the list goes on and on. All that remains of our dying band of heroes is the crew that made it on the Millennium Falcon and some boy in a stable that can force pull a broom to his hand. Considering that the Resistance lost fuel in The Last Jedi, I would not be surprised if the Millennium Falcon lost fuel too. Then our heroes would be gone, lost in space forever, unless by some holy miraculous act of the Force, they get saved and they get the world's largest army in the galaxy to wipe out the entire First Order, and once they do, they get to party for weeks and weeks. Why would I make a statement that Leia is gone, even though she doesn't die in The Last Jedi? Same reason why I said Carrie Fisher is gone, and so is her mother, Debbie Reynolds. You see, on December 27th, 2016, Carrie Fisher died, largely because the autopsy revealed she had a ton of ecstasy in her system. A day later, Debbie Reynolds, her mother, died. This broke my heart because I respected both of them. Carrie Fisher will always be Princess Leia to me, but her mother, she was the last of the great old Hollywood legends. She was the star of Singing in the Rain, which is regarded as perhaps the greatest movie musical of all time. She also voiced Charlotte in the Hanna-Barbera animated adaptation of Charlotte's Web. I thought I could one day work with both of them. Now I can't. However, hope is not lost for Leia yet. It turns out that unused footage of Carrie Fisher intended for The Force Awakens will now end up in Star Wars Episode 9. If this is Lucasfilm's way of honoring a great Hollywood legacy, please do it. Do not let me down. Honor the legacy of the great matriarch of Star Wars. Honor the last of the great MGM stars, the studio that made hundreds of musicals during their heyday. Please, Lucasfilm, honor Charlotte. I remember how sad I felt as a kid watching that film and seeing Charlotte die. After I managed to get that out of my system, let's move on to the other two reasons that argue why the bad guys won in The Last Jedi. You're gonna laugh at me for these. The second reason is the fan backlash on the internet from this film. I remember leaving the theater, weary, and ready to see a top 250 IMDb score for The Last Jedi. Instead, I got dozens of negative reviews on the site. One said, "This should be the last Star Wars movie." Another said, "It's time for the Jedi and for Star Wars to end." Still another said, "Disney, enough, please." This started to break my heart. If you end Star Wars here, it's just a franchise with a big gigantic cliffhanger. Why was there so much hate for the franchise that I have loved ever since I was a kid? They even started arguing that the prequels were better, and last I checked, the prequels weren't supposed to be good to the fans. Their argument about why The Last Jedi was bad, I kept on picking up, was that the film was SJW propaganda. Let me remind you, I am terrible at acronyms. I had to look it up to find out what SJW meant. It's social justice warrior. Really? I thought we were past the civil rights movements of the 1950s, 1960s. I thought we were able to achieve Martin Luther King Jr.'s dream. Some people don't even think so. Well, if the fans are ticked off about that from The Last Jedi, they're probably going to be more ticked off when they find out what Disney did that same day, December 14th, 2017. The third reason that argues that the bad guys won in The Last Jedi? Disney buying 20th Century Fox. You see, 20th Century Fox was the studio that helped Lucasfilm finance and distribute the first Star Wars all the way back in 1977. I felt uneasy the entire day of December 14th, 2017. I even felt uneasy during my company's Christmas/holiday party held at the Roxy Theater in the Battery in Atlanta, close to SunTrust Park. I was only faking how happy I was to go see The Last Jedi. Now you're about to find out why. It's all because of Matthew Buck, or Film Brain on Channel Awesome. Matthew Buck does this review show called Bad Movie Beatdown, where he reviews bad movies. He also tweets regularly about movies as well. So when Disney made a move for Fox on November 6, 2017, a year ago to the day this podcast was made, Matthew made a terrible tweet about Fox being destroyed by Disney and how Fox would be dissolved and be made irrelevant. He obviously doesn't know that I don't watch a lot of R-rated movies, or even a lot of movies in general, because I'm working all the time. Problem is, he sounded serious, and I took it way too seriously, and had a rather uneasy Christmas and an uneasy first half of 2018, which worked very well because I got constructive criticism that motivated me to change my work habits, and I did, God bless. To me, Fox will always be the studio that gave me the first two Home Alone movies. I watch Home Alone every year. I could quote almost every single line. Unfortunately, I let Matthew Buck get to me. That's something autistic people have a tendency to do. They let people get to them, and they also believe everything they read, hear, or see. They take it literally. It was because of these cynical tweets from Matthew Buck that I did several things. One, I never watched The Greatest Showman, a hit musical about P.T. Barnum. I did not watch The Greatest Showman because I thought it would be too much of a bittersweet end to the circus, as Barnum and Bailey stopped operations earlier that year. I thought it would be too bittersweet of an end to Fox as well, like it was their last movie. I also blocked the whole Twitter trending pane on Twitter with Custom Blocker, an add-on for Google Chrome. I also stopped watching The Nostalgia Critic altogether. The same week Disney bought Fox, he riffed on Home Alone 2, and I love Home Alone 2. And I thought that since he was from Channel Awesome as well, I thought he would complain about the death of Fox too. Since we're arguing about Star Wars here, in the words of Luke Skywalker, every word of what I just said was wrong. Fox and Disney will be part of a new holding company called New Disney, which will act as the parent to both companies. Fox will continue producing movies and TV shows to make money for both themselves and for Disney. The Last Jedi is a good movie, and a lot of people don't realize it at first. The rebellion is born today. The war is not over, it is just beginning, and Luke Skywalker will not be the Last Jedi. I asked this question about the bad guys winning in The Last Jedi to my friend Kyle at lunch, and he said the rebels only live to fight another day, and the hope for them comes in the form of the people who are not only inspired by them, but are also force-sensitive. Since this will most likely be true, then in December 2019, let's have a great Hollywood legacy go out with a bang. Star Wars, Carrie Fisher, Debbie Reynolds, Kenny Baker, everyone who has been involved with Star Wars over the past 42 years, even Gary Kurtz, should be honored for achieving some of the greatest sci-fi stories in Hollywood history. Goodbye, and may the Force be with you. This is the Nerdy Autist, over and out.